Live.
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Listen, this is David's part. David's not with us today.
Almost.
I was this close.
That close. Welcome back to the Lost Dollar Business Club, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good morning.
All right. Well, I have to tell you guys, this is how dedicated I am to you, to this show, is that I took an extra long weekend so I could do some things around the house as like a couple of vacation days.
Right.
And but I said I'm still going to do the show. I'm not going to not do the show. I'm definitely going to stay doing the show on Friday morning. So here I am on the Lost Dollar Business Club
with his pajamas on, sitting in his bedroom. I mean, he's doing great, giving the people on the whatchamacallit their visual. So that's
your house is not in. Is it the where you are, or is it some?
Yeah. I'm at the house that I live in. Yeah, we're installing a tree swing. And we're doing some gardening. So very exciting activities.
The tree. Kurt, remember, now before the show, we were saying with Kurt's voice, we should just dim his lights and get some candles. And what's going to happen is Kurt's going to be like, "Hi, this is Kurt from Kurt's Corner," and all the female listeners on just the podcast will be like, "Oh, Kurt!" So it's going to be very exciting.
I'll give marital advice.
Yes, advice. There you go. That'll work.
Late night show. I think that was done in the 90s. I think they should bring that back.
Well, just to do it, he'll have to do a live show like from 10 o'clock to midnight on our channel. Right. You know, with candles in the background. But since that's not this show, and this is the Lost Dollar Business
Club. Not this show.
What are we going to discuss today, Michael, before we run our little ad?
Yeah, before we put on the next first ad, this show, so we're going to start off with the S&P 500, but not just the S&P 500, but the fact that the top 7 companies in the S&P 500 are completely dominating that index. That's an important thing to think about, especially if you're a seemingly passive or balanced index investor. And we'll also go back to one of our favorite topics, China, and in particular, things that China is doing.
Let's just set John off.
things that China is doing to some stimulus in their own business, indicators of their economy, maybe some struggles they're having, and the Economist article, "The End of Western Naivete About China." But after we get to all of that, we'll get to one of our other favorite topics, AI. And the announcement of a new show that you might want to stay tuned for.
There you go.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com. Official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
And we are back.
Okay. We are back. So no one has any of the little labels under your little labels under your name.
My little label stays the same on every show. I'm too lazy. I'm just too lazy to change it and figure it out. And David changes it constantly. It's the same one all the time.
I'm not outraged today too much. So
no.
Today it's super outrage.
Yeah. John didn't know you were going to talk about China. If you would have put outrage citizen again. So outrage citizen. Yeah. The outrage American. There you go. Oh, boy. So where do we want to begin, gentlemen?
Well, I mean, I think the S&P topic is a big one.
Fascinating.
It's interesting because what does it really mean when you have the idea being that it's Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, which is really Google, right. NVIDIA, Tesla, and Meta, which is really Facebook, although I guess they've got Instagram and WhatsApp now.
Yeah,
right.
But these guys, these top 7 guys, are bigger than all 493 remaining companies in the S&P 500.
Yeah, it's just since I think I want to say that the majority, let's just call it, let's just say 60% of the people that invest are passive investors.
Right.
Mhm.
So, hey, I'm going to be invested in the S&P, and or a mutual fund that invests in the S&P and is broadly diversified, so I don't take too many risks. All of a sudden, you now realize, oh, I'm just invested in these 7 companies,
Right.
and so the performance is doing really well. But what happens if all of a sudden let's call it the AI, honeymoon zoom up in the index is reversed, and it drops 15%. Yeah, so now you're not that diversified. So
So
it's
a
problematic.
diversification
Maybe
risk.
most people don't care, I have a feeling, but it's more like the professionals maybe are just focused on this, and maybe the person that opens their brokerage statement or their 401k or their IRA statement, every couple of months isn't attuned. So
Well, but
I would think
isn't
most people don't care, John. I don't think
Yeah.
most people know. If you ask them, first of all, what's in their mutual fund, most don't know.
no.
The other half are going to be, I only want a tech fund. So if I'm, whatever hedge fund, or if I'm whatever mutual fund or whatever, right? I'm just going to buy these 7 stocks, or I'm just buying the S&P. I mean, it's kind of an easy one. And the only reason one of them is hot is only because of AI chips in the last
Yeah,
6 months.
yeah.
If not,
Very
in the last
recently.
6 months, no one ever knew this company existed. So, I think I think that has a lot to do with it. And now, since AI is hot again, if you will, I think these 7 companies, since they're all tech, they all have AI, they all have this, people are flocking to it, and they're just throwing their money at it because it's like fear of missing out. It's like what crypto was, fear of missing out, right? At some point, there's a correction. Or maybe there isn't. Maybe it just goes and goes and goes, and they all become $1 trillion companies.
Yeah, I mean, as the article referenced, there have been a couple of other periods where you have concentrations of maybe 10, 20 companies that dominate the sort of the time period, and they do extremely well. There's the Nifty 50 in the
Right.
60s and 70s, and they were soaring for a decade. Eventually,
what was the character of the Nifty 50?
it was industrial companies,
Mhm.
Xerox, IBM,
Oh, okay.
and then there were companies that were like they were conglomerates, and they were sort of they were viewed as, hey, these companies, they're like a little diversified index in a way, and so they attracted the money, and they did well for a couple of years, and then they came down to reality, and they dropped 40% or something.
Yeah, but until we get to where we change, where we're not tech and AI oriented now, right? Or if you will, virtual reality and augmented reality, where you need kind of all these companies, it's going to be, I think, they could ride the wave. There could be other companies that come along. Just to give everybody an idea of what the other 493 companies, they're 70% of the S&P. Their market cap, the other 493 companies, is $25 trillion. Okay. Apple is almost 8%, and their market cap is almost 3 trillion at 2.88. And you have Microsoft that's 6.8 at 2.5 trillion. I mean, they're poor. I don't even know why they didn't. It's an embarrassment. You've got Amazon, who's at 3.6%, and they're at 1.3 trillion. When did they become $1 trillion company? Right? And then we have Alphabet, because kids got to sing that song, A, B, C. Anyway, they're 4.3. I needed you the other, Kurt. Thanks for helping me out. 4.3 is Alphabet, and they have 1.58 trillion as a market cap. Meta is 1.9% because it's, who cares? And they're only 700 billion. So they're this is embarrassing. They should just jump off a building and kill themselves.
Eventually, they'll come
Tesla,
to reality.
one day. Tesla is 2.2%, and they're at 820 billion, pocket change. NVIDIA, the company that no one ever heard of until a week ago, making AI chips, and that took everybody overnight. They have 2.8%, and they're at $1 trillion.
Yeah.
So
But they came up 650 billion in the last quarter, right? So,
Right.
I was just going to say, like, everybody's like, oh, we need AI. You know
Yeah.
what we're going to do? Boom. And then that was
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
think the other interesting fact that people may not know, and Michael and I were talking this before the show, Apple is worth more than the entire Russell 2000 of small companies.
Right. So it shows the outsized impact and then the increase. So they were talking about the accelerating impact. So the risk is, there's so much money and influence going to these companies that it becomes just everything is based on the wins and losses of these few. And is it really a problem to think that there's so much more influential or at least money-wise, financially powerful than all of these other small stocks and smaller stocks in the Russell 2000 or the rest of the crew in the S&P 500? I mean, what does it really mean that all of this money is concentrated in these few?
It's kind of like going to the casino and all the money's on like 5 slot machines and they always win. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of going to the casino, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's here's the thing. If you're I'm going to go to the passive investor or the pension company. They're kind of sort of forced to be in the market. So, and they want to diversify portfolio because they don't have the time to do research. So you're in this index, and basically you're in these 7 companies because they're driving everything. So if you think of Nvidia, the price you're paying and the PE you're paying, it's going to take 10 years of earnings to basically justify the price you're paying.
right.
So essentially, it's impossible for that company to deliver on those earnings. At least, that's the thinking. I mean, if it takes 10 years, right?
Yeah.
A
A lot can happen in that time.
I mean, you're paying for 10 years worth of earnings today, right? And that you're gonna earn them, and it's sort of, it doesn't make any sense. Now, these things can make no sense for a long time, and so but eventually, at some point, you have to catch up. Sun Microsystems, which is a big, computer tech company, hardware and stuff, ran in the same scenario. And I remember that the CEO at one point said, it's ridiculous. We're never going to make the earnings that the market is putting on us because it's just crazy. He said, and eventually it all came down to a more realistic valuation. You're not going to pay, for earnings that are not going to be delivered. Eventually, something cracks. So that's sort of the risk.
So this is a lot of Is this speculative? Then you think, or is it just people making big bets on really new and exciting technology?
Yeah, I don't. Well, let's just wait to see. If AI actually delivers the profits that many are putting out there as the potential. So, it's sort of a huge bet on that this software technology is going to drive profits. I would, you could argue that maybe it's the opposite. It's going to let's just say does it kill jobs? If it kills jobs, maybe that's not so good.
I don't know about that because we just did something that took 4 days. I mean, granted, in Hollywood, it would have taken 4 months. So I think it's a while before it starts killing jobs. But I will say this about AI. I know that when we use it, like for a PowerPoint presentation, or we use it to do math equations for Excel because we just don't want to try to figure it out and we don't have the time, in a millisecond. And between Brad on Google's side, which we use a lot for research and whatever, and for the chat number 4 that we use, we're like the smartest guys in the room. And so a lot of that stuff would take hours or days. Right. So in like 30 seconds. So when it comes to analysis and research, yes, I think AI, you're going to see people lose their jobs. But I think as AI gets smarter, for lack of a better term, I think that's when it happens. I think we're probably 3 to 5 years away before you see like 2030, like Goldman said, is where I think you're going to see the axe fall on a lot of people. So I think that's where we're at. I don't think it's going to fall in the next week.
would
Yeah.
that transition happen before then anyway? I mean, they could say
Probably.
all these existing jobs are going to go away, but maybe all of these jobs are actually just going to be enhanced by AI as
Maybe,
opposed
yeah.
to totally eliminated.
Yeah, I think
No.
people are afraid of what they don't understand. You know, like I like tech, so I'll play with stuff. So when someone said, "Oh, you should try ChatGPT 5," I was like, "Great," and then I was like, "Oh, I got to get 4 because 4 was so much better." I'm like, "This is awesome." So like, I'll write something and I'll say, "Make it better," and it does. It'll like
Yeah.
correct punctuation, correct this, correct sentence structure, because that to me is a waste of time. Which everybody knows who ever got an email from me or anything from me. So, but it makes it that you can read it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So for me, it's excellent. And for Excel formulas that are more difficult that I
Yeah.
don't use every day, it works. And for PowerPoint, it just puts everything like, you can type it in, go with a certain code, make me a PowerPoint, and it'll do everything, slides, code. You punch it into the PowerPoint, and 10 minutes later, I have a full PowerPoint presentation ready to go. So
Wow.
I don't think people are losing their jobs yet. I think the people that understand AI will then go further.
Get a
with
leg
it.
up.
So to go back to the S&P that we're talking about, Nivea, Apple, I'm assuming at some point is going to put better than a Siri in their phone.
Yeah.
Amazon's, I think, already using whatever they're using to scrub their whole, whatever. Microsoft's got theirs. So I think everyone's embracing it. I think it's who's going to come out with, if you will, the supercar of it, right? Because right now, all the AIs, to put into a car analogy, they're Ford, Chevys, if you will, or they're Aston Martins, whatever your favorite cars. That's what they are. But the one that gets become the hypercar, the car or the platform that no one has.
You mean
That's the
Tesla?
company that. No, please, that's make believe. Crap.
Yeah,
but that's the one. I think that explodes.
Well,
yeah. Okay, so yeah. Sorry.
There was a time when our biggest obstacle in terms of transportation was the steam engine, and everybody lost their minds. It's like, oh my God, it's all the world's going to shit. And then it was we were crossing the ocean by sail, and then all of a sudden the steam engine revolutionized crossing from one side of the ocean to the next, and then we have planes, and then everybody thought, oh my God, and the sky's falling again. And now we're used to that. And then we went to the moon, blah, blah, blah. This is a natural progression. And in each one of those progressions, jobs were lost because they were part of the old, and new jobs were created because they're part of the new. I think the fear is now mostly media driven, is that great unknown. They're exploiting it. So everybody thinks it's over, but it's not. It's the beginning of something else, but we're just not seeing it right.
But I don't know if it's the media. I mean, you have the guys who came out with AI going, you got to control it. You got to do, like, they're the ones being the fear mongers
as well.
And as I said, when Musk did it a month or two ago, and I told this to Michael, and I even said it on the show, I was like, he's so full of crap. He's going to come out in a couple of weeks and go, we have AI too. And it's just like, they all want that upper leg. So they're all going, listen, and he did 2 weeks later going, look, we have AI. So that's the whole thing. It's like they all complain. It's like, it's going to take over the world. Be careful. But meanwhile, back in their little labs with guys with really thick glasses and pocket protectors, they're coding away to make, HAL from 2001. And I think that's the thing. Now the European Union, everybody's like, oh, we need to put measures. No, not happening. All these companies are going to come up and develop their own AI. I know of 5 AI startups right now that are further ahead than all the companies that we're using. And they're just waiting for their final MVP to come out to show it to the world. Mm-hmm. So there were guys from Google and Apple and Meta in France raised $105 million or euro. And they're 3 weeks old on AI. So this AI craze is going to drive, you think the valuation now is crazy with these 7 companies?
Right.
If we talk about this next year, if AI keeps going the way it's going, they're going to be just the S&P 500. They'll be 70%, and the other 493 will be the 30%.
Yeah. Well,
that's where we're headed.
I know it's all great and wonderful, and it could create all sorts of new little things. Now you're paying today 222 times Nvidia's earnings. You have to be nuts to, what are you going to pay 500 times, and it's going to take 20 years to get that? It's just
no, but they're not thinking like that, John. They don't. People listen. The people that are investing in this stock are the fund. Unless you're a professional. The average person just goes, drool like Homer Simpson, and I got to buy this because it's the fear of missing out. Because they all already missed out on FTX, crashing. They already missed out on crypto. They don't want to miss out on this now. So this is
Yeah.
what I think this is
I mean,
where we're headed.
there'll be a
It's a
good
little
run. It's
different
just
than
that
FTX.
it's
Oh,
gonna,
boy.
yeah, it's
My only negative, my feeling of negativity about what's going on is just the saturation of all of it just to those 7 companies.
Right.
You know, normally when you have innovation and you know, United States being really the godfather of innovation of the modern times, it was always the small guys that created the new innovation and pushed out, and then they would become big, and then somebody else would come up with a new idea. The fact that it's so saturated at the top that's bothersome to me.
yeah.
Well,
that
they
is a
acquire.
problem.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that. And they acquire the small companies that do come up with the innovations, and then
Yeah.
just get them out of business or incorporate the product. But does that mean that the innovation is not happening, or is it just, or is it not being funded, or are people not looking for innovation and outside of this relatively narrow tech window, I guess?
Yeah. Well, the jobs were always created because they were small, right? They always needed people, and there were always, those people would bring in ideas, and it would go and go and go. My feeling of kind of angst about it is, if you've got these big established companies, are they building up, or are they going to start shrinking down and just, you know, acquiring more money and acquiring more power, but, you know, shrinking, right? That's kind of
Well,
bothersome, because we still have the same amount of people, right?
Yeah.
they're doing a lot with a very few amount of people. Meta,
Yeah.
Alphabet, they're not on hiring sprees. They were firing a lot.
They're
Yeah,
cutting.
they were
Everybody's
firing
cutting
people.
people. They're still
Yeah.
firing people because because it's all because they're using, I'm going to be a smartass, AI, right? They're all using AI. They're getting rid of all the humans. You know, they're going to go from a workforce of 1 million down to a workforce of 7.
Right.
So, but at the end of the day, AI can code. AI can do this.
AI
Now,
can code.
granted, you have to tell it what to do, but it's still very interesting that these 7 tech companies, in some form or another, are in the AI space, or in this. Even though Amazon's like, oh no, we sell, no, they're all
No, they
they're
use
AI.
AI. Absolutely.
Everybody uses AI. So, and like I said, Nvidia is to me the funniest one, because if you look at January, it was like 0.0 nothing. And then if you look at the chart, and thank you to the Financial Times, because they're the ones who provided us this information, they literally spiked from like nothing in January to like the top of the heap in percentage growth in June 1st. So it's just funny when you see that. So that's why I'm saying it's like, there's got to be a foundation. There's got to be a correction, but then there may not be. Like if AI keeps going and going, right, it'll be the next hot AI company that may overpower, just say Apple, whatever the one is that comes out and says, look what we can do, and people are like, oh my god, and then that would drive them down, or maybe it'll be 8 of the of the 500. I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah,
All
back in the 20s before the crash, people were saying, I'm not predicting a crash, but we've reached a new plateau. Stocks have reached a new level that shouldn't fall from that.
Right.
Yeah. So I just I would say, hey, be aware of the potential risk of what it is.
There you
You can go on the roller coaster of it. Hey, it's
let's take a broke. We're gonna take a broke. Many people take a break, but we're taking a broke, and then when we come back, we're gonna discuss the Chinese Belt and Road.
Oh yeah.
This will be good. This should set John off. This is going to be my favorite part of the show.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
Oh, and we're back.
We're back. Back
Okay.
on
John, we should just let John just go on a rip for 20 minutes.
it's okay.
No, that'd be too typecast.
Yeah.
Too easy.
Too easy. Yeah.
So we're gonna thank The Economist for this next set of articles that we all read.
Well, it came up because first China just as it seemed like a minor detail, but one that China's 7-day reverse repo rate is changing. They're manipulating it for the sake of, after 9 months of not doing so, for the sake of boosting their own businesses, at the same time that they're doing some sort of stimulus with their business, which they're always doing anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But, some sort of gaming there. But the it was being seen as maybe signaling a weakening economy there in China. It's very hard to tell anyway, given the opaqueness of their economy.
Right.
But then it kind of bled into the Economist article, which was called "The End of Western Naivete" about China. And so, with their interventions in the war in Ukraine, and Europeans' hesitation to have security and peace negotiations from China, is the West going to take a stance or going to have some sort of position against China, finally thinking that China's maybe pulling the wool over people's eyes? So they called it a distrust of the Chinese security state, which
shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker.
It's funny that at this stage they're beginning to admit something that maybe they always knew, and I think it's somewhat partially late. They've Europe and the US have, I wouldn't say totally deindustrialized, but geez, we've lost a lot, and so I don't know if that we can reverse that. And China is just, they're the new power in the world. They control a lot of what we buy, and so they can have influence, and they're using it. And I guess that they try to promote the idea that they're peaceful, but with a club.
Right.
Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly and carry a big stick.
Yeah,
I mean, not everybody's going for it. I mean, just to bring up the Belt and Road. I mean, not everybody in Uganda, for example, is behind. Uganda is an example of a country that seemingly is not totally for the Belt and Road initiatives throughout Africa, and a lot of countries now are taking some step back, or at least taking more hesitation before taking money from China. So.
And part of it is China's not getting paid on some of the stuff that they went to these African countries, because there's a whole article a few weeks ago in The Economist, and maybe even the Financial Times, that was saying they have to restructure their deals now because these countries don't have money. So I'm thinking there's got to be some fine print that says, we just own your country. Like at some point, we'll be like, we just come in and start speaking Mandarin and don't worry about it.
They're playing like 3D chess,
Yeah.
They come in and they say, yes, you need money. Very good. Well, wonderful. You need a new port. Okay, yes, we'll do port. We also do railway and roads. And you say, wonderful. Understand that. Why are they doing that? Hey, you have some minerals that we really need.
Right.
And if we build, infrastructure, we can extract it quickly and efficiently out of your country. Now we know you're not going to pay, and so we're going to own the infrastructure once you default. It's a brilliant strategy, and maybe it just. I think a lot of people realize that now, and in Africa, it's maybe you have some honest politicians, and they don't want to take the bribes that the Chinese are giving them. Because come on, I mean, why would you sell your country for pennies?
I was just in the DRC 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I think, 3, and they, of course, they did the same thing because they wanted to extract minerals. And we'll build your road. Yeah, they built the road straight to where they were mining. They built all the infrastructure went straight to the place they were going to extract. Nothing else. Bye.
Yeah.
But to your point, John, and to Michael's point, yes, the world is waking up, and so is America, but this is how stupid we are. So now, because we're mad at China, because we woke them up, and Napoleon said, don't wake up the sleeping dragon, because when you do, And I've been saying this since I was a kid, before I knew Napoleon said it, when I was like 6 back in the 60s. That would be the 1860s. I was like, you got 2-3 billion people. When they want to take a picnic, you're not going to stop them. And they closed their country in the 1410 from sailing the world. And now they're opening it up again because they realized it. But we, as Americans and the rest of the world now, is like, we're mad at China. What we're going to go do? We're going to go to India. And now we're courting India like we courted China from like the late 1972 with Nixon up until just say yesterday. Right now we're mad. Now we're like, okay, now we're going to go to India. I don't know if our people put their head around this, but when you go to these countries and you rely on them for so much, at some point you get a person that wakes up, that's running the country, and goes, we can screw this, not just this country, but every country over. So now we're going to empower India, and I'm all for it, but we're not trying to do anything back
strategically at home.
Yeah, right. It's just like, let's just go where we can do cheaper.
Some people are, though. I think some people are. I think there are a lot of people who want to bring manufacturing back to, or at least specialized manufacturing. And again, I brought it up last time, was the CHIPS Act and the Science Act. Right. I mean, it's at least a step in that direction to say, well, can we bolster our own manufacturing at home? And it's not, one of the articles I shared with you 2 weeks ago or so was just making it clear that it may look pretty bad for American manufacturing now, but it's not totally dead. There's still some potential hope to revive it. And if you look at India, it's ideologically more aligned with the United States than China is, for sure.
Right.
Well, because of its English background, right? And it's but I always say that yesterday's freedom fighter is today's despot. In the same way that if you try to exploit countries, tomorrow they will exploit you. And this is what the West is facing through its own laziness, really, nothing else. We don't want to do it. I don't want to clean that toilet. I don't want to pick that cotton, or I don't want to pick those strawberries. Well, guess what? Yeah, we'll do it today. We'll pick them today, but we're going to pick you clean tomorrow when you've now shown us how to do it, right?
Yeah, and then take that to advanced technologies and advanced tooling and manufacturing, and that's a whole different game. I mean, it was Tim Cook who said, we can't come to the United States to do high tech manufacturing because we can't do it.
Yeah, it's talking about India. Lockheed Martin had just signed a deal to start building some of the fighter planes in China, and GE is also going to start building plane engines, and they're going to transfer technology, sort of the same deal as before. And it's like, all right, I mean,
we don't learn.
Yeah, we don't learn.
I wouldn't want to fly that one.
We just don't learn. We are literally that stupid. Australia is the perfect example. I'm not saying Australians stupid, love it. I only like it because when you flush the loo, it goes the opposite direction it does the rest of the world. I think that's awesome. But anyway,
Southern Hemisphere.
Australia learned about economic bullying, if you will, from China, because when they went and was going to have like the exercises and whatnot, China's like, we're not going to buy any more wine from you. And they say, oh, we're not going to buy this from you. We're not going to import this to you. So all of a sudden, Australia realized about 3 years ago that if you are getting in bed with China and you do something they don't like, they just stop it. And so they lost billions in economic monies, if you will, from the wine industry and other industries that were going back and forth with them. And I think that's what people forget is like, once you get like India will get to that point. Like one day, if somebody in the call center goes, no, we want to make $35 an hour like everybody in the United States does, every country is using India or Bangladesh or the Philippines. If they all decide one day to do that,
right,
you might as well just bring it back to America, right? And that's what they keep forgetting is like at some point, these people are going to realize you're paying us nothing, and we hold all the power. And it's really, and we're going to India now. We're doing the same thing. Like, we'll build a plant. We'll do this. We'll do that. All right. Well, It took China what, 50 years? Okay, so what are we in 2023? Great. In 2073, India is going to be like, hey, US, like that. You know what I'm saying? And then what? And then what are you going to do? Not a thing, because we will be this weak little nation that didn't do anything except outsource everything where everybody wants to sit around getting fat and happy.
You'll be England.
And Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
AI is going to help us not do that.
Yeah.
We let's hope so. Well, yeah, it'll make us all fat and lazy.
I say,
So-
I say never pick a fight with a family that outnumbers you 100 to 1.
Yeah, right.
Never ends
So-
well.
Right, right.
China, India. It's just I don't know. I think Belt and Road. John and I were in Colombia and Bolivia, and we would come across the firm we were with. We would come across Chinese to be in our program, and I'd be like, "Well, this is interesting." And they'd be like, "Hey, we want to build a railroad across our country and do this in ports." And we're like, "All right, we'll bring you investors." And then we'd be meeting with like the president or the vice president or a minister. And they'd be like, "Listen, now China was just here." And we'd be like, "Really?" And they'd be like, "So what are they offering you?" Well, basically, they're going to do everything, and they're going to charge. Maybe we have to pay them $1 a year for the next 50 million years. And I'm like, You go, what can you do? Not that. So, and now to whether it's in Africa or South America, they're everywhere. Even in America, they wanted to. We were doing a port thing in the Carolinas, and they came and go, "We'll build the port." And of course, the government's like, "No, you're not going to build the port because it's national security." And all these countries, I don't think through it. Like Sri Lanka is one of them, right? They had China come in and do everything. They're having a tough time, so now the Chinese are like, "No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll just take all this." So like you defaulted. Now we run it. So it's very interesting. They're just putting everything everywhere. So it's no different what they did like from 5,000 years ago up until 1450. And now they're just doing it all over again because someone actually in there pull up your read a history book. And they're like, wait, we can go back to the greatness that we were. And they're doing it. But now the whole world's mad at them. So
In
we'll
a
have
way,
to
they
see how
learned
this
that
ends.
from the U.S., right? Because
Yeah.
with the having a U.S. Naval or Army base everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, you want security here? We're going to put
I
our
mean-
guys up over here.
Imperialism at its finest.
I
Welcome to
don't
America.
know. I don't know if you want to call it that or just self-preservation.
Yeah, it's
Both.
a little of both.
I think it's both. A little bit of both.
Because somebody's going to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to do it, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's us.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
somebody was going to do it, but I mean, it's the same playbook, right? But just done
Yeah.
differently, right?
Yeah. When it's on the other side, one doesn't like it.
Right. When it's us, we think it's the smartest thing in the
That's
world.
right.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
What are you
when
gonna
you're on the
do?
losing side of the stick, not so doesn't feel so good.
Doesn't feel so good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's time for another thing. I don't know what commercial this one is. I'm just going to push the button. So let's see.
Push the button. Let's see.
If you like the Lost Dollar Business Club, you should subscribe. If you like it that much, you should also tell a friend of yours. So you should subscribe and like. Also, you should put comments below so we know what you're thinking. Tell us what shows you want to hear. Just help us make it better.
So who's lost $1 this week? And who's found $1 this week?
All right, boys
All
and girls. Who's
Oh,
going to go
boy.
first on Lost and Found?
Jeez.
And this is in honor of David, who's dealing with solar energy. He's installing
Oh,
solar.
Lord.
No, he's
Right.
got no power today.
Mm-hmm.
And without power, you're not on the Lost Dollar Business Club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
David is he's getting a whole solar roof put in.
Good
So
man.
he says they're going to have no power from 7 in the morning until like 5
Yeah,
or 6
right.
tonight. And I was like, let me
Every
get this. He
day.
goes, I said, why? He goes, they have to disconnect it. I'm like, what are they disconnecting? He goes, well, they have to hook it up to the house. I'm like, the sun's up in the sky. You don't have to hook up anything. He goes, no, the panels on the roof have to be hooked up. I'm like, yeah, that's an excuse. So, but so,
Thursday.
yes,
So
David
Lost-
will be joining us.
David's
Yeah.
here in spirit for today. But Lost and
There you
Found.
go.
Who's got a good Lost and Found to start us off?
You're on, John.
On the China thing, the Volkswagen has just realized that they're not making any money in China because the Chinese electric cars are beating the pants out of them because better range and stuff and price. So lost dollar there that they never probably could ever make, but okay, now it's come to reality.
Now it's a clearly lost dollar.
Yeah,
It's clearly
and
lost
the
dollar.
gain for the Chinese, they're
Yeah.
it's money for them.
Well, they learned from everyone else. They learned
Yeah.
from-
Yes, absolutely.
All right, my is that Lost or Found, John?
It's a loss for Volkswagen. Yeah, they lost mega bucks there.
3 billion people.
Yeah, and they still can't make a buck. That tells you something.
That's true. Yeah, well, no, Volkswagen, who owns Porsche, but well, not Bugatti anymore, Lamborghini and Audi and the rest of them, they're doing okay, John. I don't think the Volkswagen
Yeah,
group
but
is not
China
suffering.
is their biggest market,
I know.
and they're not making any money. So I don't know.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's
All
all
right, so the lost. There's two founds. One, Porsche just came out with a supercar that's all electric. That's blowing everybody away because of the speeds and the performance. I think that's a found dollar for Porsche, which is the Volkswagen Group. So hopefully they can sell those in China. To John's point, and the other found is remember last week the UFO in Las Vegas that everybody laughed at me at. Well, they sent pictures. They put pictures out of the aliens that look like aliens.
Yep.
So that's found because now finally the lizard people and I can go out in public and enjoy ourselves. So
That's
those are
an
two
AI
found things.
movie. That's an AI movie. You fell for it?
Yeah, of course. We made it. We made it. Shh, be quiet, John. We made that movie. Don't say a word. Be quiet. Don't talk. So, Michael, what do you have for us?
very convincing. Well, my lost and found is actually it's a small found. It's a small found because it's a group of. So I'm in enterprise sales as a full-time job, enterprise software sales, and there's this great sales community called bravado.co.co, and they created a GPT for salespeople to ask your questions and get advice on they took the body of knowledge from the community that they'd been developing over 2 years or so and put it into this, they call it Sales GPT. And it's a minor found, but I think it's a big found for the sake that this is what part of the future of AI is, which is people are going to take these specialized bodies of knowledge, put it into a GPT model, and you're going to be able to communicate with experts in any field at any time and get the best knowledge out of it. So I think that's a found.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, Mr. Kurt from Kurt's Corner with the candles in the background and the low mood
I
lighting.
love music.
People on the podcast are going to be, I got to tune in for this. So,
Well, I think my found today, the losses is a tough one, but the found one is an agriculture company that's been around, I think, since about 2017. They're called App Harvest, and they've been up about 6.8%, I believe. And they make farming sustainable farming. So basically, they use indoor farming techniques that can grow crops up to using up to 90% less water. And obviously, in today's world where we're struggling with getting fresh water, I think that's a really good win.
very cool.
All right.
Cool.
Now, if David was here, we'd go cha-ching, but we don't have the
Yeah.
cha-ching machine. That's
We-
all on
we know,
David's
we
side.
You
know.
don't?
And that's an
Oh,
American
man.
company, by the way. They're from Kentucky.
Oh,
Well,
No,
sure,
there
that's
you go.
where husband and wife divorce and they're still brother and sister. So that's important.
oh God.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
Really? Too soon? Too soon after the war? Okay. So just checking. Gentlemen, this was fun. We should do this next week. Oh, that's right. We will be doing it next week.
I think so.
So for everybody that's watching or listening, don't forget the show airs every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're in New York City, you don't have to adjust your clock, but the rest of the world, we're sorry, you'll have to figure out what it is. If you have any comments, please list them below. If you want to be a guest on the show and you're an expert in a field and you can show us up, which trust me, not that hard to do, please do that. Also subscribe and like. I know we say it every week, but it actually helps the channel out. And it lets us know that we have some fans out there. And other than that, guys, have a wonderful week. We'll see you all next week.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.